Welcome to my presentation. I am Durgadevi, Assistant Professor, Department of English, JJ College of Arts and Science. Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. Introduction. Rabindranath Tagore, 7 May 1861 to 7 August 1941. Sobriquet Gurudev was a Bengali polymath from the Indian subcontinent who was a poet, musician, and artist. He reshaped Bengali literature and music, as well as Indian art with contextual modernism in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Author of Geetanjali and its profoundly sensitive, fresh, and beautiful verse. He became in 1913 the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. Tagore's poetic songs were viewed as spiritual and mercurial. However, his elegant prose and magical poetry remain largely unknown outside Bengal. He is sometimes referred to as the Bard of Bengal. A Pirali Brahmin from Calcutta with ancestral gentry roots in Jesuit. Tagore wrote poetry as an 8-year-old. At the age of 16, he released his first substantial poems under the pseudonym Bhanusimha, Sun Lion, which were seized upon by literary authorities as long-lost classics. By 1877, he graduated to his first short stories and dramas, published under his real name as a humanist, universalist, internationalist, and ardent. Background. Rabindranath Tagore wrote his poem Where the Mind is Without Fear in the first decade of the 20th century. It is the 35th song in his famous book Geetanjali, which was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. He wrote this poem during the peak of hours of the cruel and brutal British rule in India. It is his utopia in which he prays God to let his country wake up to a blissful heaven of freedom. That is his dream. The distance between his dream and the real state of affairs in his country is far, and he skillfully brings to world's attention to the state into which his great nation has been fallen into by the British Empire. He does this without offending anyone and as is expected from an England educated noble genius. 6 years before India achieved independence, Tagore had died without seeing a free India. In the present times, this poem not only tells us about the horrible, downtrodden position to which his country and its heritage was brought to by a Britain, but also acts a measure whether India has progressed any after half a century of our independence. The poem Where the Mind is Without Fear is written by Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore addresses God as my father and asks him to awake his country into the heaven of freedom, where there is a total freedom of good thoughts, good words, and good actions. He wishes for a country where people should be free from fears, where knowledge could be free to all individuals and people from all caste and religion should be united. The poem is written in free verse without any rhyme scheme or meter followed throughout the poem. There are many figures of speech used, example, personification. Where the mind is without fear. Rabindranath Tagore. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. where knowledge is free, where the world is not being broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless driving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever winding thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Summary. In the poem Where the Mind is Without Fear, Tagore sketches a moving picture of the nation. He would like India to be where everyone with the fold of the brotherhood is free to hold up one's head high and one's voice to be heard without having any tension or fear of oppression or forced compulsion, where the knowledge is not restricted by narrow ideas and loyalties. The British rule had robbed India of its pride and dignity by reducing it to a subject nation. The India of Tagore's dream is a country where her people hold their heads high with their pride in knowledge and strength, born of that knowledge, where all countrymen must come out the narrow loyalties of caste, creed, and religion, prejudice and superstitions which narrow the mind and divide people would be a thing of the past, where the words of truth come out from the depths of heart and are spoken out courageously in the open for the world to hear. People would work for perfections in the clear lights of reason, leaving aside all superstitious rituals